The Last Jedi. 2 years of speculation and hype, and I'm at least happy to say that I wasn't disappointed. This movie was everything I hoped for and more, and I can't wait to get a physical copy so I won't have to worry about openly weeping in front of strangers at all my favorite parts, which were numerous. Yoda and Luke reunited, R2-D2 playing the original Leia hologram. This movie really built up your feels if you're a fan of the original trilogy. Even without necessarily breaking into your soul, they still reflect the original trilogy on many levels. If I wanted to make a video centering on all the parallels to The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi we get from this film, it would be very, very long. That being said, I obviously can't do that on this video as it would take up far too much time, so let me just use Rey and Luke's story as an example that will lead us to my conclusion that Rey's heritage as a Palpatine is all but confirmed in The Last Jedi. Let me first start with a quick rundown of observations we got from The Force Awakens to support this theory. Rey obviously has a gift. She took out Kylo Ren the first time she fought with a lightsaber, using forward thrust moves that no other lightsaber wielder has done besides Palpatine. She can do Jedi mind tricks. She can use the Force to manipulate her own environment, all with no training whatsoever. One would immediately assume she is descended of a very Force-sensitive being or bloodline. Other elements from The Force Awakens to support the claim for what they're worth are her location on Jakku and her accent. Whoever left her on Jakku did so very near to where this huge battle took place on the planet between the Rebellion and the Empire at around the same time of the battle as well. It's not far-fetched to say she was left behind by someone from either side, my opinion being the Empire, obviously. As for her accent, Daisy Ridley is British, but so is John Boyega. For whatever reason, Rey was chosen to maintain her British accent where Finn was given an American accent, and I honestly believe that this is a clue to her heritage as well, just because Palpatine had a British accent. For what it's worth, on the final full trailer release of The Last Jedi, a faint screech very similar if not identical to the screech we hear from Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith as he lunges at the council members can be heard as she ignites her lightsaber. As The Force Awakens concludes with Rey finding Luke, we all assumed correctly that there would be training involved in The Last Jedi. But let's look closely at the series of events, and I know to most people who have seen The Empire Strikes Back more than once, this will all seem very obvious. In The Last Jedi, we have Rey asking for Jedi training from a master of the religion who has exiled himself far out of any populace's reach. It's the mirrored reflection of The Empire Strikes Back when Luke sought out training from Yoda, a Jedi Master who exiled himself as well. At first, both Masters are hesitant to train, yet they both eventually do. The relationship with Rey and Luke ceases as she is rushing to save Kylo Ren, with Luke pleading with her not to do just that, as Luke had rushed to leave the Dagobah system to rescue his own friends, and Yoda had pleaded with him not to. The most important parallel to The Empire Strikes Back that Rey has on this island, and probably in the whole film, is when she too, just as Luke, is tempted by the dark side and goes underground through a mysterious opening just as Luke did. Once underground, Rey begins to see visions or hallucinations, whatever you want to call them, ultimately leading to the big moment where she pleads with whatever force is surrounding her to show her her parents. Two shadowy figures appear. As they approach her, they become one. As this figure is revealed, we see Rey's own reflection. She later confides in Kylo Ren, saying that she went down there looking for answers and found nothing. But what if she did? What if she found the answer she was looking for? Look closely next time you see this part and watch the final single shadow approach her. The walk, the height, the shape, even the color tone, this could very likely be Sheev Palpatine's silhouette. He is approaching her the same way he approaches Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, before telling him the truth about who he is and begging Anakin to take his knowledge of the dark side to save Padme. The shadow fades and Rey's reflection is revealed. In short, she sees herself inside her Sith Lord of a father without knowing. This is exactly the experience Luke has on Dagobah system when he is underground facing the dark side. He fights off a vision of Darth Vader defeating him and decapitating him. As Vader's head rolls to its side, a small break in the face reveals Luke's own face. He is now seeing himself in his Sith Lord father. Remember parallels. This is the biggest one of the film. This is our true answer, I think. And I know Kylo Ren told her her parents were degenerates who sold her for drinking money, but it is simple misdirection, just as he misdirects players in the Battlefront 2 campaign, which is canon, when he implies that the game's protagonist had a daughter on Jakku. When Rey started her training with Luke, just in the first lesson, she goes, as Luke put it, straight to the dark side. I don't believe a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi would have done that so naturally, or would be so naturally gifted with the Force. Yes, he was a very strong, gifted, and wise Jedi, but when you measure him up with Darth Sidious or even Luke Skywalker at the height of his strength, the abilities don't add up for that kind of power that Rey possesses to be inherent in Obi-Wan Kenobi's blood. As for her being a Skywalker, the rush to the dark side and her natural talent is more believable, and Luke even compares her raw strength to Kylo Ren, who is later described to have that mighty Skywalker blood. But honestly, Leia and Luke, who are so strong with the Force, would know by now how to search their feelings and know a Skywalker when they see one. Luke didn't want to admit that Vader was his father when he was confronted, but he couldn't hide the truth. He knew. That kind of sense is nowhere to be found with Rey by himself, Leia, or even Ben Solo for that matter. As for Rey being Anakin reincarnated, that's the closest to any other theory that this one gets. If Palpatine single-handedly is responsible for Rey, it is likely he conceived her with the Force the same way Anakin was created. I've thought about why he'd want to do this, although I still very much believe he did do it. I can only come up with one idea. Maybe she was some kind of backup plan to Anakin. Emperor Palpatine / Darth Sidious had no intention of giving up his power in Return of the Jedi. His hope is that Luke will kill Vader and become his new apprentice. Sidious is aware that Luke is a firmly and deeply rooted Jedi who will not easily be swayed. I don't think he suspected that Vader could be turned, but he knows Luke's talent and that if anyone can defeat Vader or resist the temptation of the dark side, it is him. Worst case scenario, Luke defeats Vader and Palpatine has to destroy Luke and start over with a new apprentice, Rey. I'm very excited about this potential proof of her lineage. I'm hoping this is where the story is going, as I think the twist will be great. Not a lot of people have gotten on board with her being a Palpatine in the past, and I'd like to see the shock and awe when the truth is revealed. Whoever she is, wherever she comes from, it has been fun to speculate, and the question will still be on our minds for at least 2 more years. If you agree that she's a Palpatine, comment why. If you still don't buy it, comment why. I want to hear who everyone has their money on and why. Seriously, I just love this stuff. So thanks for sticking with me through this whole video, and if you enjoyed it and are a fan of Game of Thrones, keep an eye on this channel, as I will be shortly uploading my theory as to who will be sitting on the Iron Throne when Game of Thrones wraps up. It might not be who you suspect.